Is that why you weren't here?
Absolutely, yes.
We're going to cut to the chase on a lot of things because I made council a promise that I would have you in less than an hour.
Wow.
And so I'm going to be true to my word here. It's 10 o'clock. We'll be done before 11. Okay? I want to talk about skiing. Tell the jury about your ski experience. What type of skier were you?
At that time, or do you want some background?
We don't need a whole lot of background.
Okay.
Back in 2016, what type of skier were you?
I was advanced intermediate. There was no places I would go except serious bumps, narrow little gulches, and I didn't do any big jumps. So other than that, I would go just about anywhere.
Okay. How often would you ski?
2 to 3 times per week.
Okay. For how many years?
Well, I started 37 years ago. It was a winter sport for my family. We lived at high elevation.
Okay. And in all of your years, other than the ski collision with Ms. Paltrow, have you ever been in another ski accident?
Never. Never.
Have you ever skied with the ski patrol?
As a matter of fact, I had the good fortune. I learned to ski from a family that owned a ski resort. They were relation, and they would come out to Snowbird, and they were, I think it was a whole family run operation with 8 children, and so they were ski patrollers and they were instructors, and I had the very best of company every winter for a week when the kids were out of school. And then I had the good fortune of having a Lions Club friend, Scott, who's still a dear friend that lives up in Spokane, and he was a ski patroller for Targhee, and he said, "Terry, come up with me, on this weekend." And I said, "I'll slow you down." And he said, "You know what? Just follow me and do what I do." And that's what I did. And I had the good fortune of spending a lot of time with Scott and seeing and observing what ski patrols do and how they calm people down and reassure them they're going to be okay. So I really appreciated that and experience.
So it sounds like you've skied at Snowbird, skied at Targhee. Had you ever skied at Deer Valley on the day of the collision?
No.
That was your first time ever skiing at Deer Valley?
It was.
Okay. Let's talk about that day. Couple of preliminary things. I asked Ms. Paltrow on Friday how tall she was. How tall are you?
I think I'm now 5'5".
Okay. And what was your weight at the time of the collision?
Well, in the VA, you don't take anything off. Whatever you walk in with, your coats, heavy coats in wintertime, boots, wallets.
I give that excuse too when I How much did you weigh about?
Fully dressed, or undressed, probably 63, 62 pounds, 163, 162.
Okay, all right. So the jury's heard about meetup groups. What is a meetup group?
A meetup group was just a lifesaver for me, being new to this area. Hard to accumulate friends, and so when a fellow that I was on a hike with, a new fellow, said, "Have you heard of meetup?" And I hadn't. So he says, "Look it up and sign up." And I did, and it was a wonderful organization of groups of people where you had a shared interest, whether it was dancing or concerts or skiing. And so I signed up and joined some groups, and it was really a life changer.
Okay, so my understanding is the day of this ski collision, you were with kind of a group of people in the meetup group. Is that fair?
That's right.
All right. Did the group have a plan? I mean, were you the organizer of that meetup group that day?
No, I was not. I'd asked Kurt to take that over because I planned on being gone that day, and Kirk organized that.
Okay. It sounds like obviously you weren't gone that day. You ended up being able to make it.
I came back a little early from wherever I was and just said, "Oh, I'm going to go ski today." And I happened to see on the list that day also was a lady that I had met when I first moved here, and she happened to be a ski instructor at Canyons, but she had been at Deer Valley as well. And so I called and said, "Debbie, I'm going to go. I'll pick you up." So I picked her up at Kimball Junction on the way and went there with her and dropped her off with the skis and we met the group, and I asked her if it'd be okay if she let our group out because she's very familiar with Deer Valley. And so she said yes and gave us the rules of the road. Would you like to hear that?
So the meetup group, you guys kind of ski all together-ish?
Well, and this skiing meetup group is unusual. It's like herding cats. You've got those of just want to go, and they kind of know who one another is, and so they go ahead and group up, and sometimes I wind up skiing with the beginners and getting them started and making them comfortable. And so they don't stay together well. We meet, usually we'll say, let's meet at Alps at 1:30, and so that's what we do.
Okay, so you mentioned we set forth the rules of the road for that day. What were the rules of the road that day?
Well, the only rules of the road, we are pretty familiar with the rules of the road, so we don't go over that at the time, but Debbie just said, we're going to start down Bandana because that's how we'll get to the blacks of really good skiing. So our group knew that's where we're headed. And she said, whatever you do on Bandana, do not go down the middle of the run.
Why not?
It's packed and crowded with people. She said, go down the edges. She said, it'll be clear. And so when I came over the edge of the hill, there were heads bobbing in the middle. It was just compacted with little heads and big tall heads, and I just diagonaled. I went straight over to the right edge of that run.
And is that where you stayed prior to the collision?
I did. I stayed there the whole time because it was wide open.
So you were over to the right side to avoid the people. Did it have anything to do with your vision? There's been a lot of discussion about your right eye problem.
Yes.
And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But skiing on the right side of the run, did that have anything to do with your right eye?
Yeah, maybe that's one of the things, yes.
Okay. We'll talk about your vision in just a couple minutes, but
Sure.
I want to focus on the collision right now. Craig Ramone, he just testified.
Oh, yes.
You saw him. He also testified last week. How well did you know Craig at the time back February 2016?
He was one of maybe an average of 15 people, 10 or 15 people that would come, so I shared his company during those times. And I knew him only as being an amazing skier, strong skier, and knew that. And I appreciated the fact he tended to like to follow the group and be behind as the protector, because he brought a lady that was a person I knew that was his neighbor. So he would bring her up and ski behind her as a protector. So good guy.
Did you guys hang out a lot before this collision?
Of course, at lunch, we spent time together. And there may be a couple of other occasions where we met with him, but usually there was somebody else there along with us.
Okay.
So I don't remember being exclusive with him.
All right. So, Terry, take the jury through what happened in this ski collision. Take it from, say, getting off of the lift.
Yes, happy to do that. It was really a very nice day for skiing, and I was really looking forward to it. And of course, Deer Valley has amazing groomed runs. Found that out right away. And so I'm starting from when I get off.
When you got off of the ski lift.
Gotcha. So I was on a chair with probably 4 people. I think Joanne, Debbie, Craig, and there could have been another person besides myself. And we had already met and discussed going down the right side of that run, or going down the sides. And so I came over the top of the hill and saw that and headed for the right side, and I'll pick it up there. And everyone just kind of dispersed, some more to the right and more to the left. And I remember looking and seeing no one. And generally, beginner runs, people are afraid of the off-piste, of the off-groomers, and so they stay away from that area where the snow is piled up. And off-piste can be a rough ride if you have to divert and run out in there. Some skiers can't make it through there easy, and it's a lot of bumps. So I went right down the run and started just making nice soft turns and staying within that boundary. It could have been as much as 5 yards wide, but it might have been more like 5 or 6 feet. Can't imagine and can't remember. Lots of room. And so I'm just skiing easy and paying attention, and all of a sudden, in front of me is two big signs. I've never seen that big of slow down signs. It seemed like they were 4x8, like a 4x8 sheet of plywood size high, with great big letters, slow down. I went, whoa, and I'm looking around, and the crowd's about the same as me, and speed-wise. And
so did you pay attention to the sign?
I did, and I backed off of whatever I was doing, and then another big sign, like 10 feet away, the same 4x8 sheet up there, big letters. Well, they're serious, must be lots of merging trails down here. So I just backed off, and again, the skiers were on my left. We were all about the same speed. And I could see down where the edge of the run went, it curved around, a tree line came out a little bit, and the run curled around, and I could see about half of the, I don't know if it's the Montage or the Empire, could about half of that beautiful building, and it was wide open. There was nothing in front of me. And so I came around that corner, and it takes my breath away to think this is hard, because I don't like going through this scene. I just remember everything was great, and then I heard something I've never heard at a ski resort, and that was a blood-curdling scream. Just, I can't do it. It was, ah, and then, boom. And it was like somebody was out of control and gonna hit a tree and was gonna die. And that's what I had until I was hit.
That's what was going on in your mind.
Overruled?
That's what's going on in your mind when you hear that scream.
That was instantaneous. Oh my gosh, somebody's out of control. And they're really seriously out of control. Not time for a hockey stop. I didn't go think about that, but most people could avoid that, I think. Good skiers.
Okay. And I'll move on.
Okay.
So you
All right, I think overruled. He's overruled.
okay, thank you. So you hear this scream.
Yes.
What happens next?
You know, I got hit in my back so hard, and I'm right at my shoulder blades, and it felt like, and was perfectly centered, and the fists and the poles were right there at the bottom of my shoulder blades. Serious smack. Never been hit that hard, and I'm flying. I'm absolutely flying.
Now, you're not airborne.
Well, all I saw was a whole lot of snow, and I didn't see the sky, but I was flying in that sense. I had no control. And I remember this thinking, okay, you really got to hang on. And then I thought about the crowd on the left, and I thought, I don't know who's wanted over there, and I do not want to get them mixed up in here. And I've heard, that maybe that's not decided about how my ribs really got hurt. I absolutely lurched with what little I could off of my skis a little bit more to the right to make sure nobody over here got involved on my left side. And then it was like the ground's coming up, nobody in front of me, just me going to the ground, and you're falling far further than 90 degrees like you'd fall on a floor. You got that extra, and so it's quite a ways to hit the ground. And I just said, okay, you got to protect your face, and your head, and that's the last thing I remember. It didn't happen. I did glance over and saw, just out of the corner of my eye, I could see, not glance over, but I could see somebody going by, and I'm going, okay, they're safe. Last thing I remember, everything's black.
Did the person who struck you land on top of you?
I wouldn't know that. I absolutely would not know that. I was just surprised. I had no upper body strength enough to be able to catch myself. I had no idea.
Do you remember hitting your head on the ground?
No, that part, nope, that's all gone. I just remember my arms collapsing, and that's the last thing I remember.
What's the next thing you remember?
I'm getting an adrenaline rush here, I guess, living this again. Just being here and present, too.
And let me just stop you really quick. You said you're getting an adrenaline rush. Is this something that you enjoy?
Adrenaline rush? Not this
No.
kind.
Yeah.
Not now.
Okay. All right. So what's the first thing that you remember? Or the next thing that you remember after
Well,
you're
yes.
on the ground?
The first remember is everything is still black, like I'm unconscious, but it's like my subconscious is going into protection mode, like, you better pay attention here and listen to what's being said to you. And all I could recognize was that someone was really angry at me. And it was a man, and it didn't come out clear in the beginning. I couldn't really hear what he was saying, but I just knew he was mad, and he was right above me, right close to me. And I'm feeling a little afraid, and I tried to move, and I could not move a limb. I couldn't move my head. I couldn't move my body. Nothing was responding. Just this message I was getting. And the next thing, it became a little more clear, and I heard him say, "Do you realize that you weren't skiing under the rules? You hit somebody. You hurt somebody." And just insistent that I was the bad guy. And that's why I said, this has got to be a husband or boyfriend. It's really mad at me, and I sound like a big...
Did you know who he was?
I had no idea. No idea. It
Okay.
was just a very angry person trying to bully me into believing something that I didn't think could happen, was I heard a woman's voice, right? Again, couldn't move. And about the third time he went through that, and it's getting louder, and I could start to understand what he was saying, and he was really insistent that I was doing something wrong and hit somebody. And I remember in desperation, because I couldn't move anything, I couldn't fight. I couldn't fight. Who's going to try? And I tried moving something, and I could move my skis a little bit. I could just feel just below my knee. I could just slide my skis a little bit. And that's an important point. My skis are still on. They're still on. And I'm thinking, I got to placate this guy. He's really mad. If he decided he wanted to jump on me right now, he could finish me off. I remember saying, I'm sorry.
Okay, now you're
Twice.
you're whispering.
I
that,
know
but-
I am,
but
because
maybe-
that's what I heard. Nothing was coming out. My lips were moving, my tongue was moving. There was nothing coming out of my mouth, and my heart rate went up again.
Okay.
Okay?
It looked like what you were mouthing was, "I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. And I was just going, I can't believe it. I thought, try again. I'm sorry. Nothing was coming out. And to me, I heard nothing.
When you kind of mumbled, whispered, whatever you want to call it, "I'm sorry," was that you apologizing for causing the accident?
No, absolutely not. I was trying to placate this man in the only defensive manner that I could.
Okay. You've talked about the man who was yelling at you. Miss Paltrow last week talked about, admitted that she was kind of cussing you out as well. Do you remember any conversation that you had or anything that she said to you?
Absolutely not. There was one voice that my brain was focused on. Thank God, I guess. And that was self-protection, I guess. I only heard a male voice, a mad, angry male voice. I heard nothing. Maybe that happened before I came to that point in consciousness.
Were you still on the ground at this time?
Still on the ground, absolutely, face down
Okay.
on
How
the ground.
how did you end up getting up?
Well, that's a story too, but basically, I heard Craig saying, "Terry, are you okay?"
Now this is Craig Ramone.
Well, at that point, I didn't identify his voice. Things were a little strange yet, and I heard, "Terry, are you okay?" And about the third time it hit me, somebody is here to help me. I didn't at that point, except an angry man was there. And I said, oh my gosh. And I went through, and I looked up and I could see Craig standing there above me, 8 or 10 feet. And on his immediate left, my right, was a man in an all green outfit and with a helmet on and ski goggles and, looked good. And I thought, oh, he's here to help me, right? He looks like he's from Deer Valley. And so I was going through the things, answering his question about, that were my thoughts. Now back to my injuries. Craig is saying, are you okay? And I said, oh, my ribs are so sore. There's just this really deep throbbing purple pain here. And then I said, my vision is swimming with sparks. And they were unusual sparks. I'm going, is that my retina? Is that my eyes? And it wasn't a retinal detachment, a retinal hole or anything. And I'm going, that's my brain. I'm thinking, those sparks on my brain.
And all this time you're still on the ground?
I'm actually, the next point is that after I tell him about my ears my ears are buzzing. Oh, and my brain is like it's on Novocaine. And then I realized, oh, I'm not seeing, I missed a spot. And that's where I looked up and couldn't see them and got frightened about that. And I realized, going, oh my, what's going on? And then I went like this and go, oh, happy I could see. So I missed that part. That happened before I started telling what all is wrong with me, answering his question. And then Craig said to me, as I remember, of course my brains are a little bit stretched out of place, and I remember him saying, do you know who you are? And what I thought I said was, oh my gosh, I can feel this pathway in my brain. It's going around and trying to figure out who I am. And yes, I know I'm Terry. And then he said, do you know where you are? And I said, I know I'm skiing, but I don't know where I am. And that's when the man in green took off. I was kind of noticing that he really wasn't interested in what I had to say. He wasn't asking questions. He was standing there rather stoically, head not moving, goggles on, just resting on his poles and his skis, and was sort of disinterested. But when he skied off, my heart sank, because I really thought he was the one person that was there to help me. And I'm laying on the ground with my head downhill, and I couldn't see where he went. So I was really
Terry, how did you get up?
The question is how I got up, and that might have been the question in the beginning. But
that's right. How did you get up?
I realized that I was getting cold, and snow was packed in around me. I was starting to get a little shivery, maybe from a little shockish maybe, and I got to go. I got to get my skis downhill. And I started sliding my skis around and my legs around. I think Craig must have been shell-shocked about this guy leaving too. I don't know what he thought, but I remember getting my skis around, and it's so painful every time you have to contract your...
Terry.
Thank you.
How did you get up?
Thank you. That is one of my habits. I just focus. After I got halfway around, a man showed up in front of me, and I thought he came from the right. And I don't remember if he said one word to me. He just reached down and grabbed me and jerked me up on my feet, which I was not ready to be up on my feet. My head's swimming. I'm in pain, worried about falling down again and breaking a rib, puncturing a lung. He gets me up, and I'm on the edge of the run, so it's bumpy. It's hard to get my skis under me, and I'm stomping down the snow and trying to get them in a spot. Got my poles wedged in, and I think I've got it in stability, and he's gone. And this time, I could see him. I could watch him go all the way down the hill. And I'm up. I'm standing up, but am I feeling safe? No. People are going by, And I'm thinking, I do not want to get hit again.
My understanding is that you and Craig tried to ski down a little ways, but then didn't quite make it too far. Is that accurate?
Yeah, he said, "You think you can ski?" And I'm thinking, the option is getting left up here, I will try anything. I got to get off of here. So yes, he said, "Follow me," and I did.